We're back, your favorite podcast show of the week. This is Location Weekly, and it's episode number 530. Yes, that's a lot of episodes. We've been at this for a lot of weeks, a lot of years. Brianna, how are you doing this week?
I'm good. I'm doing really good. Yeah, I mean, just starting to get settled in here in New York and, feeling more like home. Actually, like went for a run this morning. So, I got the whole like, hi, good morning while I was running around the neighborhood. So it was kind of nice. It's like, it was good. But yeah, the summer's coming to an end. So it's like last hurrah. Got a birthday coming up. So no big plans yet, but life just keeps moving on. How about you? What's
Yeah, it's
new?
been a good last little while. We've made some great progress on our startup here at Ground Level Insights, and starting to get some things organized around LBMA events. Kind of looking to the future a little bit around our conferences for next year and what we can do, what COVID will allow us to do. So it's been a bit of that. And otherwise, it's the countdown's on. I get a daily update from my daughter who's off to university in, I think now she told me 18 days. So this is, her first year and leaving home and all of that. So, there's that stress. But yeah, otherwise, doing good. Yeah.
Getting real.
Yeah. So we've got a good show for you. Four stories as usual, and I'll just let Aubriana kick us off.
All right. So let's kind of go over to the SaaS world a little bit here. We've got Groupon is partnering with a company called Booksy. And Booksy, is pretty straightforward. They are a booking, appointment booking kind of a software as a service option. And they are partnering to really just streamline this process so that whenever you're finding a salon or a spa or a similar service provider, that you can actually book right through the Groupon Connect API platform and using the Booksy service. So Booksy, I was not familiar with them actually, surprisingly, but they, I guess they've been around for a little bit. They announced in January they had raised $70 million Series C funding. They were trying to do more like beauty booking extension across North America. And really, they also are looking to partner with companies, maybe acquire some existing markets. Obviously, I immediately thought of Booker, which is a mind body company, but Booksy apparently has 13 million consumers globally right now. And they also had a stat that I thought was very interesting, that whenever customers are enabled to book their own appointments, the frequency of their visits actually increases by 20%. I'm not sure if that's completely true or not, coming from the world where, my husband and I owned a whole body cryotherapy, a wellness studio for several years, still have, part of that business that runs as a rental business now after COVID. But, we worked with a company called Booker, and we also worked with Groupon. So, what's interesting here is Groupon is kind of touting this and trying to get more, probably attract more buyers for Booksy with this partnership, because merchants are able to get 6 months free subscription to Booksy and unlimited staff members to manage customer bookings. And then as long as they're having 10 Groupon bookings every month, they can continue the service for free. So, I think that the reality is like Groupon probably is, I don't know. I have like a lot of experience working directly with them. And I would say it's not always a great fit. Sometimes it's an okay fit if you're just trying to bring like brand awareness and things of that nature, but it's not always a great step in the right direction for small to medium-sized businesses. I mean, I've even seen like marketing studies that say when you discount sometimes through Groupon, you're actually like always losing money. But I think that, because there is like a sort of a price gouge, right? You've got okay, you have to discount your service offering 50%, and now you're going to split the remaining 50% with Groupon type of a model. And so sometimes that gets like to be, really where you are spending to bring new clients in. And a lot of times if you're attracting new clients because of a cost savings, then you'll lose them for the same, right? They're not necessarily likely to become these loyalists. And, typically with a booking type of a platform, I think that that data stays within that platform, right? So if you want to continue to have access to all of those customers that are signing up and using Booksy or, others, you typically have to continue that service in order to continue to have access to those, that customer database that you've built. So I think there's a lot of challenges here for like a small business. But, from a business perspective, being on the Groupon and Booksy side, I think the partnership makes a lot of sense. And I think they will both be driving business to one another. So, within Booksy, being able to potentially discover other items that are available for booking or potentially Groupons. But I think the integration of just being able to book right there through Groupon is a very valuable thing for anyone who actually purchases that, and trying to push more consumers to the business sooner, because a lot of times people will purchase Groupons and maybe forget about using them, and they're just kind of sitting there in limbo, and nobody's getting like that return on that dollar, not the business, not Groupon, and the consumer's not reaping the benefits. So I think from that perspective, this is very valuable for all parties involved. So that's my quick take on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting partnership. I think it can serve both parties well in terms of growing user bases and things like that. I think the challenge for me I have with this is, Groupon is one of those companies, like we haven't talked about Groupon on this show for a couple of years at least, that as far as I can recall. And we used to talk about them a lot, them and Living Social, and all the sort of the players in the local deal space. And I think the reality is that Groupon is a company that's in heavy decline right now, and they're looking for anything they can do to sort of prop that up, and who knows, maybe find an exit. I mean, I remember when Rob was still co-hosting the show, we did a show and we were like, they had been made an offer. The CEO at the time, I can't even think of his name right now, of Groupon, somebody had offered them $7 billion and he said no. And we're like, take the deal, guy, like take the deal. Like it's just and here they are, like these guys have been around since 2009. Like, so, around the same time the LBMA started, these guys started, right? And, it's been that, sort of long of a run. And, their peak, I was looking at some numbers just now, and their peak was in 2014. Q4 2014 in terms of active users, so meaning not just the people downloading, active, using Groupon, once, at least once a month, was at 53.9 million active users in Q4 of 2014. In Q1 of this year, 2021, that number has gone down to 25.8 million, right? So they were at a peak of 54 million, and they're down to 26 million, less than 26 million, right, in terms of daily active users. So
that check is not coming back.
So what does that tell you, right? Like, it tells you, and they were a company that went big, acquired all kinds of similar local deal companies in countries all over the world. They've since shut down operations, written off losses in like 11 countries in the last little while. So this is a company that is struggling to find revenue, to find users, and Booksy is a great platform to team up with. Obviously they're well capitalized, and they're growing, and I think Groupon is, like, for me it seems like they're on their last straw here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right. I think that just the value that they provide to consumers and to businesses is not enough, right? It's just not. It's kind of a messy UI from a consumer perspective to find what you want a little bit. It's not super intuitive, anyways, and I think that from a small business perspective, I think small businesses are starting to learn, like, this is not really productive for me. I'm actually like losing money. And I'm not getting the type of clients in the door that I want, right? Like I'm not creating loyal fans. I'm not having that opportunity to convert and to create like members, or, those that are going to really be like brand ambassadors for me, from this type of following. So I think that just, it, it's telling, but I don't know that if there's a drastic shift or a pivot that could happen for Groupon, but I think that, maybe that ship has sailed. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to watch, right? Like, I think there's still value in that company. There's still users. There's still relationships with small businesses and merchants out there. Maybe some new startup that's on the rise, can see value there, and Groupon can find a way, to sort of monetize their way out of that. But to me, it's a company in decline, and they sort of missed their opportunity a long time ago. So. Anyhow, moving on to a company that never seems to be in decline, and that is Nike. These guys are, always finding ways to, ramp up their brand, bring out new shoes and partnerships with celebrities, that people want, and do cool things. They have a very successful innovation lab and team that are kind of pushing the boundaries on tech and wearables and all kinds of cool things that they're doing these days. One of them that's not so tech crazy forward thinking, but just cool, I think, is in their new flagship store in Seoul, Korea, where it's a 24,000 square foot Nike Rise store, which just opened in the last couple of weeks. It's 3 stories, and throughout the entire store, it's just full of LED displays and screens everywhere. And one of the cool things about it is that they use a significant amount of that screen space to pull in real-time running stats from the local Nike Run Club community around the store. And I just thought it was an interesting one to highlight because for me, I don't think enough brands leverage data, through their apps and through their platforms that engage consumers and connect that into their physical space environments. For a couple of reasons. One is I think that the average consumer today, especially sort of the target audience for a brand like Nike, it's generally younger. People in those demographics, they crave attention. They want to see themselves on the big screen, and whether that's their picture or their data, their numbers on their running or whatever they did, their activity. It's like, hey, that's me. That's like, I'm projected onto the big screen, and the big lights. And I think there, for this generation, I think that there's something to that, and I think they're tapping into that with this type of, sort of implementation in the store. The second is I think just on a broader scale, I think there's a lot of brands like this, consumer-facing brands that have apps in the marketplace that have consumers with millions of people using them, or even extension into social platforms, have followers on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and whatnot. And again, I talk a lot about that disconnect between the social media platforms and these app platforms and the data that sits in there in terms of followers and users and all of that, and how you actually drive that to convert into purchase and transaction and sale in places where they can buy and consume your product, whether that's a restaurant or a running shoe store or whatever it is. I think there's a missed opportunity for many brands to kind of link those things together, and I see this as a way to sort of bridge that gap a little bit and kind of bring those things together by taking the data from one side and displaying it on another, right? And you drag people in. Maybe they spend more time there. Maybe they dwell. Maybe they're happier because they see their data, and maybe they then go buy another pair of shoes, and so on. So I think there's a lot of opportunities here for brands to kind of like learn from this very simple execution. Nothing tech crazy, savvy about this. This is very easy to do. But I think has the power to actually convert and potentially lead to a significant uplift in revenue. So what are your thoughts?
No, I completely agree with everything. I think all of your, sentiments are pretty spot on. I do agree that, a lot of people want to have that clout, right? They want to have that kind of social standing and to be able to sort of have bragging rights, especially if they work hard and, they're running long distances or doing something like that. And the other part for me is that I think of, I like Nike as a brand, but it's not necessarily something I'm going out of my way to explore. But if I come across it, then it's something that I would interact with, right? If there's something that catches my eye, then it kind of leads you down a trail of like, oh, well, what else do they have that's new? And what other shoes? Oh, what other, like more athleisure shoes and running shoes? And what about this, clothing items and kids stuff? Like you just, but sometimes that those portals and those opportunities of gateways to kind of attract attention needs to be throughout different areas and different forms. It's almost like, it's like our education. We always say that there's a variety of ways that children and just people in general learn. Some of us are learn audibly or by reading or kinesthetic. And so it's kind of the same type of opportunities need to be presented from a branding perspective and making sure that those opportunities are presented, in different environments and then across the board so that different people can consume them. I mean, that's what really makes the difference, I think. But I definitely agree that tying it back to something simple and real-time data is always exciting to see, even if it is a simple technical application.
Yeah. So I think a lot of opportunities, right, for brands at large to kind of do similar types of things and engage with their data and connect that more to physical stores or physical and even online for that matter, right? Even e-commerce, right? Linkages there. I think that yet to be explored. So yeah. All right. On to our next story.
All right. Well, this is a pretty simple story, but it's one that I do like. Moving into kind of the grocery and food industry, Kroger is going to be opening ghost kitchens. So they are partnering with a startup, which is called Kitchen United. And this will provide customers the ability to purchase freshly prepared restaurant food for takeout or delivery in some select Kroger locations. So the participating locations actually will have up to 6 different local, regional, or even national restaurant brands that are there. And customers can place an order for pickup, or delivery, and they can do that using Kitchen United website or app. And you can also order this like in store at the Kroger kiosks that they have. Now, this is not necessarily Kroger's like first foray into this area. They did have a retail partnership with Cluster Truck, which is a software platform, and it powers delivery only kitchens, which is pretty cool. So, like meals on demand, no service or delivery fees. This business model, though, is a little bit different here, where, this is based on like it's providing access to these local and national food restaurant brands, kind of like within that whole shopping experience at Kroger. So they have Kitchen United's already opened 6 locations to date, and they are opening one here in Manhattan in the fall. And then also they're looking to expand into some malls. They have a deal with Westfield. What I think is interesting about this is that like, the supermarket is somewhere that most people have to go on a regular basis, right? I know more and more we have been using delivery services and Instacart and things of that nature, but I think more people are opening up to being back in the store. And, there is a cost savings, and there's also something to being there and just kind of being able to pick out your own produce or, get those last minute items that, you couldn't find in the app, or, it's just the convenience of knowing you're going to get what you actually want, I think is a nice piece of that. So I think the idea of being able to, hey, I'm going to go shop, and then on my way out, I'm just going to pick up this meal that's already prepared. So I don't have to worry about cooking when I get back. And then I can put the groceries away and think about meal planning for the rest of the week or whatever is always a great concept. And I think it's a nice idea. For me, I always think of, there's those healthy, like kind of nutritious prepackaged meals that you'll see in different areas. Sometimes, you'll have like a freezer inside of a gym or something like that. And I think there's a strong opportunity for that, especially with these types of delivery only kitchens or pickup only kitchens linked into the supermarket. So for me, I'm thinking, well, if there's like a pre-made type of a family plan that I can just run in and pick up, okay, I'm going to get two of these pre-made meals alongside of like all the things the ingredients for what I'm going to be cooking. It's a great balance to have that. So I think that the ease of use, the convenience factor, all of that alongside of other shopping that has to be done is a great thing for consumers. And obviously it's a great thing for these restaurants as well, because now they are not necessarily having to pay the overhead and attract everybody in on their own. They've already got their own, just like organic foot traffic that's coming for other reasons. So I think it's a win for everybody. And I like this.
Yeah, I like it a lot too, and I think obviously the concept of ghost kitchens is popping up everywhere, as well as virtual brands, right? I mean, a lot of big restaurant brands are creating these sort of virtual brands that don't have any physical stores, and like they're sort of preparing meals for that brand out of their other brands and so on and so forth, right? So there's a ton of that sort of happening right now, and I think it's interesting to see Kroger, a grocery chain, sort of really get behind this idea, because I think they have the footprint, they have the foot traffic that you talk about, and people are, there's a captive audience there of people that are like sitting here going, yeah, while I'm here, I'm going to order this meal. It's coming from maybe local restaurants, or it could be chains, but especially I think even better if it's local restaurants, have that opportunity to sort of come through this Kitchen United platform, but sort of getting that visibility through big foot traffic, big brand in Kroger. I think that's super interesting, right? So it's a new way, I think, from a marketing point of view, to really promote a brand and a business in a local community, in a sort of geo space or area, right? So I really like that, and I think the simplicity of how it works in with the sort of ordering aspects of it and the mobile pieces, I think are really cool too. I think one thing that I find interesting with these types of ghost kitchens is when you look at the tech side of it, in terms of being able to in one kitchen prepare sort of meals across a number of different brands, and then how that connects into the delivery side of things. Maybe not so much in a Kroger where you just pick it up right there, but in a delivery sense of things, being able to optimize orders and drivers and timing and neighborhoods that they're going to and all those kinds of things. There's a huge opportunity to find efficiencies there at scale, when you start to look at these types of ways that a ghost kitchen can operate that a normal restaurant with its real estate and footprint can't. So I really like that, and I think coming back to the Kroger piece of it, I think that they really they're a company, they've been a part of the LVMA for a number of years, and they're a company that we talk about a lot because they're constantly testing technology and innovation and data and experimenting with new models. So like I really think this is a strong move for them, and I know Walmart and others are exploring similar types of things, but I think Kroger's they're onto something here, and we'll see where this goes. So all right, our final story, longtime LBMA member here, Bluedot, is getting heavy into the world of augmented reality and gamification. So they've got some new enhancements to their platform that are really around creating game mechanics and real world AR experiences. They've been working with brands like KFC and McDonald's, but it's all about kind of taking the concept of something like Pokemon Go, which we saw a few years back, and really making that mainstream available to brands and to businesses all over the place. So whether that being tying it into rewards platforms, or using it as a way to drive foot traffic to stores like Pokemon was doing, or creating more brand loyalty. There's a lot. I think people are seeing the light right now around the power of augmented reality and what it can do to enhance a user experience or an app experience. I think there's a lot there, and I think the technology now is such that it can be baked into, through SDKs and such, into any app for that matter. Unlike the old days where you had to download a very purpose-built AR type of app, like a Blipper or something like that. So I think a lot has changed there, right? And and I think from a Bluedot point of view, when you combine sort of the AR game mechanics type of experience with their very precise location data side of things, then it becomes even more interesting because you can be very targeted on where you're creating these experiences, when they get activated within a store or within a restaurant or a brand, or actually tracking what is a real world visit, and frequency of visits and things like that. So I think it's a good space for them to to get more active in. They're already active in, but I like it a lot. I think so they've got this sort of new set of features that they baked into their offering. So they have something called a gameplay dashboard, which is a real-time data to view the what's going on with current players in the game, and setting up your geofences and hot zones, and understanding kind of the traffic and the movements within that. And then they've got like other things to look at, density management and crowds, and sort of clusters of people versus individuals. And then setting up your zones and things like that too. Like, so even within a space like a park, you can set up, different areas within a park, for people who are doing things like geocaching or things like that. So I like it. I think it's a good move for Bluedot. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm excited for Emil and the team to kind of have a step into more of the gaming side of location. I think before it had been very maybe retail driven or security driven or tracking driven, just different different drivers of that business. So it's kind of exciting to see them look into, in essence, another vertical that they can sell into. So I think that's great. I do think that there's a lot that's happening in the gaming industry. It is a very lucrative industry, and there's so much that has just like barely been tapped. So I think that there's a good opportunity for them to grow with this as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of what opens the door potentially for a future acquisition of some sort for them. So it's one that I'll be paying attention to, and I want to check out a little bit more. So
yeah, and there's a lot going on in the space, right? You've got NextNav and working with they've got their Unreal engine going on, and others that are sort of getting more and more into this type of space. So yeah, I think it's there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of movement going on around this particular segment of our industry. So congrats to the Bluedot team. All right, that's it. That's our show for this week. You've been listening to episode number 530 of Location Weekly. We thank you for your time. We'll be back next week with another show. And please reach out if you have story ideas, feedback. Give us some love on whatever platform you're consuming this on. And we'll see you soon. Have a good week, everybody. Bye.